What's up?
I needed that. I needed that theme song.
Near the intro.
What's up, TLE? My girls.
Hold on, I'm sharing our thing because I want to win a bottle of whiskey. That's why I'm sharing our post. And
Joe, what's up?
we've had a rough couple of weeks. The cast and crew of Four Shots. I know that Jeremy was off last week, and I had to take the week off before that. And I had even worse news this week. I had to put my cat down tomorrow. So we've had a rough couple of weeks entering our 2021 season. However, we are together, and that's the important thing.
Together forever. Let's have a shot. Let's start it off. Let's just break the ice. And I would like to. I know you all. Hey, James. I would like to talk from our sponsor. It's delicious like a flower and beautiful like a rainbow.
Savage and Cook.
Savage and Cook.
Rye whiskey.
So I'm drinking the Burning Chair. Yeah, because I'm into metal. And it sounds like a doom metal band or like a cheesy 80s Christian heavy metal band. Either way, well done, boys. And I didn't get to do this last week with you guys because I was doing this by myself. No. But cheers. It's good to see you all.
Welcome back.
Let's get to this.
It's good to be back in the mix. So cheers.
Cheers.
Shot number one.
By the way, I'll tell you something, Tony.
Yeah.
So I had the lip service because I agree. It's awesome. But I ended up when I was at Total Wine this past week, they had already, it's like, because they're big boys, you know, in the liquor industry, they have their own barreling of this. So it's a special edition.
So ironically that you say that. So first things first, in case you guys didn't catch the show last week, I'm going to give a bottle of Savage and Cook away. And every time you share our page or you share the show or you comment or you get a friend to like our show, you get one entry. And our Patreon members get double the entry. So if you want to win a bottle, check out our Patreon and join up. We're also going to be doing which leads me to the next thing, which is a surprise for you, Jeremy. We're also going to be doing a barrel pick of our own for Four Shots with the Savage and Cook people. So if you guys want to get involved in that, there's going to be a Patreon only buy, meaning only Patreons will have access to get the whiskey. Hopefully we can get some because we don't even get the shirts for Silent Ivy, which I'm working on. But that being said, please check out our Patreon and give Savage and Cook some love. Tag them in your Instagram posts as well as us, and we would appreciate it.
Give it away now.
So
hey, Nick. Oh,
go ahead.
No. I was just going to say, I actually agree with Nick just because Nick, for you, my man.
Shot number two.
Whoa, we're halfway done with the show already. Oh, Jeremy's frozen again. I missed that.
Some things you do for yourself, you know, and it's just good. Cheers, my friends.
Cheers.
Well, Tony, I have not had this one before today, but the rad thing is the finishing of the barrels is 70% Zinfandel, 20% Cab, and 10% Grenache. And like, dude, it's a huge flavor. Well, I have not side-by-sided it with the regular because actually I was just going to get the Burning Chair, but this is actually they were out of stock on the regular and they had their edition. And that's why I picked it up because I know they're sponsoring us, but I was like, I'm a support. I want to get it. And I think it's really good.
Well, the cool thing about it that makes them unique is that Dave Finney, who makes Prisoner wine, who actually sold Prisoner wine. Now he has his own Orange Swift, which is separate and kind of weird. But either way, the wine's outstanding. The cool thing, what he does is he ages the whiskey again I got like an Amish beard going on. I gotta trim this thing. But he ages all the whiskeys in wine barrels. So the lip service rye that I have is a Grenache barrel, and like you said, you have a mixture of Grenache Zin and Syrah, which is like a Rhone Valley blend.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads us into, which we have some other cool stuff for tonight, but that'll lead us into our later conversation about aging stuff, and that's kind of what we're talking about today. But with that, let's get into our fresh shit for the week.
Work on a newspaper is people working as a team. At the copy desk, the editor selects the news and photos for an issue and plans the estimated space on a miniature newspaper page, sometimes called a dummy.
Brandon, don't say it. Don't say it. It's coming. Because I know as soon as I said it, I fucked up.
I was just gonna say you're trying to skip my segment. I understand.
Yeah. You know what I was gonna say too about like, what if none of us knew and this whole liquor company, called Lip Service, and it's all these different barrels. What if it was just like the spit buckets from everyone at a wine tasting, and then they're just mixing that shit in?
That's fine.
That feels related. That feels related to a story you told off mic. Are you fearing karma on that, Jeremy, in some way?
I wouldn't give one shit.
Oh, hey, it tastes the way it tastes, right?
Yeah.
I have got, I think, some good stories for worst of the week. Jeremy, your streak was broken only by not being present last week of picking.
I still won. Because I would have selected right. So, I mean, like, it doesn't matter.
There's layers to that joke that nobody else gets, but I do appreciate it. Well, I want to get the first one out of the way because I'm sure everybody is kind of sick of hearing about it. At least I am. It's just kind of.
Tell me it's the boat. Don't do the boat.
It's not. Do the boat? I'm not doing the boat. In fact, before you got on the call, I said to Jeremy, I said, I have the boat. I said, I think I'm going to drop the boat. But this one is like the second most obnoxious story of the week. And I don't know if it's the worst of the week for him or for us, but I wanted to talk about Lil Nas X's Satan shoes.
Oh, I did see this.
What?
Okay, so Lil Nas X, the guy who did the Old Town Road song that was like viral.
Down like an Old Town Road. Gonna
now, mind you, he's just so he's not getting a cease and desist or sued for this because it's like, hey, I'm going to make a sneaker. You should be cool with it, and then he's cool with it, right? So he's not really. I don't think he's under fire necessarily for this.
No, it's more of the like what has been. It's kind of a multi. Is
that me?
Oh God!
It certainly ain't me because I do not have a fire alarm in here.
So wait a second. We. It's still going.
Yeah, you got to pull the battery out and smash it.
Oh man, that is great. No, so Jeremy, the story is a little obnoxious, but basically, what makes it obnoxious is that conservative Republicans and other conservative religious people have been freaking out because of these satanic shoes. He's got 666 on it. There's, I guess, like a few cc's of blood actually in the rubber of the sole. But like, it's just like, a marketing thing. And Christians and conservatives alike have been like flipping out. The funny part about that, though, is Lil Nas's response to them, him dunking on conservatives, has been pretty funny. But there's been a lot of backlash. There's been a lot of stuff. And I felt like it was at least worth mentioning, and it was definitely better than the boat, seeing as how Jeremy had not heard of this story.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say too, like, I mean, like those shoes, I would get it if like Corrosion of Conformity or Slayer, someone was behind it. But I think it's a little bit like cheesy that he does it because he doesn't have that persona. I mean, he wore a fucking pink cowboy cowskin hat in his Old Town Road with chaps. So I don't really buy the like Satan thing. So I think it's kind of lame, honestly, because I think that it's not authentic. Like if he was like, you know, in some doom metal band.
Oh God, Tony's dying.
No, I knocked the wheel off my chair now, so that's okay.
Oh, I thought you were on fire because you took out the alarm and didn't realize there was an actual fire going on.
No, I have to give a shout out to Rabbit Air because I usually have my Rabbit Air in my office, and the smoke alarm never goes off.
Did you know this? What TLE said?
No.
What?
Wow.
No.
Now that's dope. Okay, if they're doing the dichotomy of the two extremes, then I'm way down with that.
That's a pretty sweet idea. Jeremy, did you see that they went on sale for $1,018? That's a weirdly specific number. They sold out in a minute, and then they popped up on resale sites, topping out at $10,000.
Sounds a lot like Lost and Found.
Yeah. See, Brandon, you know what I have a problem
with? The same
with?
amount of cease and desist.
Right. They should have gone true and sold them at retail at $666.
I know that would have been.
And then the Jesus ones should have been $777. That would have been dope, but they lost me. They charging $1,000. Come on, at least make it the number of the devil.
That would make sense. So let's move on to a little bit more of an obscure story, but one that I found pretty amusing. Tony, you've had the chance to fire individuals in your time as a employer, but I don't think. Jeremy, have you had the awful pleasure of having to fire somebody before?
Sometimes it's awful, and sometimes it's a pleasure.
Well, or on the other end of that, this guy, he lives in Georgia, and he complained about a toxic work environment. Now, the details surrounding it are not confirmed about how toxic it was or whatever, so we're not going to debate that. But what we will debate is that he's having a pretty bad week because the boss paid his final check in 91,515 oiled pennies. Had them delivered. I think there's a picture of the wheelbarrow, and it just I find it pleasurable because
we go back up to that picture of him. He's like, no, the one where he's like just his face, and that's, I don't know if that's his sister or his wife, but like, I mean, you said Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, like, yeah, but he has this look like, well, at least they paid me. Like,
I mean, the check was on. Might be the saddest part. His final check was not even enough to buy Lil Nas' shoes.
Well, yeah. Did you see the guy that paid his like fines at the BMV with pennies as well? That was a while ago.
No, I didn't see that. It kind of is. It's almost sad because like when you think about this prank, you think about somebody backing up with a truck and like dumping it in your driveway, but this is just a wheelbarrow. It's kind of embarrassing in a way that this is all that it amounts to, is this tiny little wheelbarrow.
I think they should get rid of the penny. The penny should be eliminated. There's no reason for it.
Well, how would we do like 6 cents? Like, what if you had like a?
It wouldn't be. It would just be 10 cents or 5 cents.
Oh, I guess you would just round it all up then. That's an interest. I never thought about that.
Or down.
Yeah, however it would work. It would just be by the nickel. I don't think there's got to be. We have to look this up, but there's got to be countries that don't use a 1 cent anymore. Like Venezuela doesn't use a penny because a loaf of bread in Venezuela is like 175,000 pesos. That's a worst of the week story.
What a deal.
That sounds like a worst of the something much more. But let's go to our final story. You know, we usually have stories about Florida man.
I saw this. This is crazy.
So this is a story about Florida woman. A Florida woman was pulled out of a storm drain I'm going to scroll down to a little bit more of the story. There's like pictures of her, but we don't really want to show that. But on March 3rd, she said that she went for a swim in a canal near her boyfriend's house. And she told them that while she was swimming, she came across a doorway near a shallow part of the canal. Kennedy said she entered the doorway and noticed a tunnel. She claimed she became curious to where the tunnel led. And
dude, she found Pennywise's door. Get the fuck out of there. Get the fuck out of there.
She told police the tunnel led to another tunnel, and so on and so on, otherwise known as the sewer system, until she realized that she was lost. Now, Jeremy, here's the real kicker. She was lost in the sewer system for approximately 3 weeks.
That's insane to me. Like, I don't understand what she was doing.
I think she was hanging with Pennywise, and like she probably has like a third ear now, or is like asking kids if they like popcorn. Either way, that automatically wins.
That's your automatic pick.
I have a wild card, but I can't find it, and I don't know if you've seen it. It was local, but we can maybe do that for next week's worst of the week.
Yeah, you can send it to me. Jeremy says, I mean, I kind of feel like the other two, getting your final paycheck in pennies is kind of shitty. Little Nas didn't really lose anything. It was kind of a weird, kooky story, but definitely feels like missing Florida woman 3 weeks in a storm drain.
I mean, if she's in the sewer system, I guess we don't have to worry about where she was going to the bathroom.
I worry about what did she eat for 3 weeks.
Yes.
That's why this is the worst.
It's gotta be. I mean,
think about that.
This is the worst episode of Naked and Afraid. I mean, because
sewers and
scared.
Well, I don't want to use the word. Yeah. No. Yep. She wins.
Oh, here we go. Here's our wild card.
Oh, Tony's got it.
All right, I'm gonna send it to Brandon right now, and I'm gonna read the headline here.
All right, yeah, text it to me
because I think this could be the winner here.
All right. Well, we got.
Real quick, sorry, I don't want to hold up the show, but this happened locally, and the headline is "Dad in Whiskers Arrested After Police Investigate Squalid House."
Okay, I'm bringing it up right now. I don't know what to think of this. This is pretty crazy.
So this happened right down the street from us.
Okay.
So apparently they were called to the house because someone's grandmother fell. And the grandmother said, hey, there's a bunch of people doing drugs in the house. So it says, when officers arrived, several adults were outside of the home, and the children's grandmother was changing a child's diaper on the front lawn. The child and another appeared to be covered in feces. Medic on the scene showed officers a diaper that was taken off a child. This is gross. We'll skip that. Several of the adults at the home appeared to be under the influence. One man was walking around with lipstick all around his lips and penises drawn on his arms.
That's just a Thursday night. Big deal.
Inside the house, officers found a woman in a bedroom full of trash who appeared to be under the influence. People say the kitchen and other rooms of the house contained garbage strewn about, food lying around that appeared to be there for days, and a bathtub with standing water in it. Police also observed a bedroom containing bunk beds with what appeared to be dried feces. During the investigation, the children's father, 24-year-old Lucas Snyder, came walking up the side of the house with appeared to be whiskers drawn on his face. During the interaction with police, he became violent and wrestled with the officers until they were able to handcuff him. Blah, blah, blah. Now, here's the kicker. During all of this, the children's mother was being treated by paramedics for falling down the stairs. So here's a worst of the week on many occasions. You have grandma high as a kite changing a child in the front yard. Mom fell down the stairs. Dad's got whiskers. Dad's buddy has penises all over his arms. I think this is worst. This could definitely be worst of the week.
It sounds like the nightmare of the week. I mean,
I think like it sounds like the dude that made Trainspotting should make a movie of that.
What community did this happen in, Tone?
Howland, Ohio.
Oh my God, it was in Howland? That is bananas. Anything else? No, I think I'm gonna go. Listen, it's hard not to vote for this. I feel like if I don't vote for it, I'm like, that's a sad worst of the week. Jeremy, do you want to vote against this? What's the plan here?
Well, I mean, you had to let's go further. Let's find a worse story. I mean, theoretically,
either
it's
Florida man or Ohio man. So that's
Florida woman.
Florida woman, Tony. Don't get it wrong.
Florida woman stuck
in a storm drain.
Actually, so I'm going to stick with Florida woman, and here's why. Because that just sounds like a cracked out story, and it's sad, but it's just straight crack is responsible behind all of that. And that is sad, but the woman who's sober who decides to go down on her own then gets for 3 weeks, she definitely sobered up somewhere in there. So I'm going to go with worst of the week because I think she had to have found the devil down there or Pennywise, and that's the only way she survived for 3 weeks. So I'm going to stick with the gutter story, only because Joe's making me sad. I don't want to think about the child abuse aspect of it.
That's why I try to keep the child abuse part out.
He tried to keep it out, but it was hard not to realize that there was.
But that is
I do know somebody that partied really hard in the Dominican Republic one time and had a very similar situation without children. Why are you laughing, Jeremy? Was it you?
I may or may not have been a part of something that will go down in the books and has banned me from Camp David for life.
That really? Is that true? Oh,
we will tell that story on
one
our
day.
Patreon. In our Patreon.
Yeah, you know what?
Sounds like a Patreon story.
Yeah. That's not necessarily something I want to broadcast, but I don't mind sharing the story.
Let's do a shot. I vote woman in sewer.
All right. Sounds like woman in the sewer gets it. Let's do our third shot.
Shot number 3.
I always win.
Shit down the street.
It's my favorite intro to a segment. I think that and the new intro to the show I think are the best. Anyway, fresh shit every week. We come up with something that's cool and new that we found this week, and share it with you guys. My fresh shit for the week is a company called Chubbies, and I'm sure you guys have seen them in your Facebook feed and in your Instagram feed.
I've seen them once or twice.
I have. Oh, because you chubby. Because you chubby.
Yeah, that's exactly why.
Is that why? But I fell for it and I bought a pair, and they are the greatest shorts ever. I think Brandon had somewhere to go, but basically, the thing with Chubbies is all of their shorts come with the underwear in the shorts. So I don't have to wear underwear with the shorts, but they come with a compression thing sewn into the shorts. And in addition to that, their bathing suits don't have the mesh lining. They have the compression short with vents built right in.
Oh, so I rip that fake mesh out of my swim trunks. I like to breathe.
This is a breathable material. You wouldn't even know. But you wear boxers, though, don't you?
Boxer briefs.
Yeah. So this is boxer briefs inside of shorts. So even your normal everyday.
What's it called? I'll look it up. I'm sorry, I disappeared.
Chubbies.
Chubbies. All right.
Yeah. So even on your normal run-of-the-mill everyday shorts, they even have khaki shorts, and they're the right length. They don't go over your knee. They have the boxer briefs built in. So not only are you cleaning one item instead of two, you don't have to worry about your undies. You don't have to worry about anything.
I think we need to get them
15% off your order.
Let's try to get them to sponsor us.
Yeah, we should send them an email.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe I could get my my order refunded. 5 mid length. That's where I go.
That's
So Brandon, go to athleisure because I bought some athleisure shorts the other day.
Why are we watching what you bought?
Yeah, I mean this is his fresh shit, but I couldn't wear these 5-inch mid lengths.
Yeah, but they have 7-inch. They got the 4-inch shorties.
I know. Well, I might have a little problem coming down the old pant leg, if you know what I mean.
Oh, you might pee?
You mean your tummy might hang out? I'm not following you here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you mean by 5.5 inches.
You're very hairy and you don't groom yourself? Can you imagine a bushel just hanging out the bottom of hair?
Oh my God, I'm sure. So I bought the 1 leg, 2 legs.
Oh my God.
That's actually me in the picture.
Oh, wow.
I do think that they're magical shorts. I'm very impressed.
All right, sweet.
All right. I'm tired of looking at.
What's the problem? All right,
Nothing.
Go ahead with your fresh shit, Jeremy.
Mine is nothing to show. It's so a lot's been going on in my life, and that's irrelevant. But the other night I was sitting with my daughter and we were like, what should we do? And she's like, you know what I think we should do, Dad? And I'm like, what? And she's like, I think we should break some shit to let off some steam.
Limp Bizkit style.
And I was like, fuck yeah. So we started taking stuff into the backyard and just smashing shit. And I got to tell you, I found a new love of a way to decompress. And so, like, there's the rage rooms. And
yeah, I was going to say, wasn't there like a thing going on for do those still exist? Or? Yeah,
no. So the first one that ever started was in Spokane in the States. It's something that's been in like Japan for a while. But, because of COVID and a lot of these things, like these businesses are popping up all over and these rage rooms, and you pay for 20 minutes of time to go break stuff, but to let out like in a productive way where you don't have to you're not going to hurt anybody or and I was like, dude, this is so much fun. So like Penny and I were like, dude, let's go to a bunch of thrift stores and buy stuff. And then let's all break stuff in a healthy manner. And I got to tell you, man, there are a few things that are that cathartic to just break stuff when you're not you don't want to, not personal items and stuff. I'm just saying,
like plates maybe. And
yeah.
Or random shit that you acquire over the years.
Yeah. Where it doesn't matter and you just want to. And I was like, I just found a new hobby that I'm super into. So if you guys ever need to let off some steam, I highly recommend going to IKEA, buying a set of plates or whatever thrift store is near you, and just buying stuff and then breaking it.
I want to see videos of this. I want to see people posting videos of you guys breaking stuff and tagging 4 shots in it. Because I want to see this.
Yeah. So I highly recommend it. I'm just saying, I had no idea how much fun it would be, but how cathartic it is, how much it does. And hey, that's super cool. That's rad that they have one in Vegas too. But yeah, so that was my fresh shit. I found a new hobby.
That's a good fresh shit. I like that. I think we should all do that a little bit sometimes. I felt like doing it today. I just didn't have anything to break.
Yeah. Well, go to the thrift store right by the shop tomorrow, pick up a bunch of plates, and then go in the back alley and throw them against the wall. You'll feel so good.
I probably will. I did burn a little something a long time ago that made me feel good. I don't know if you remember that or not, but
yes.
Oh, right. Oh God. Will Markson says it's called white rioting.
Yeah, it's called white rioting. No, it's the safe way. I don't want to hurt your business, sir, but I would like to break a plate. I'll clean it up. Don't worry. It'll be cleaned up as soon as I'm done.
All right, let's do a shot.
Let's do it.
Shot number 4.
Cheers.
Let's get a word of wisdom before we go to our main topic for the night.
Oh, okay.
Oh, word of wisdom.
Wheeze, what do you think about Daddy's show 4 Shots with Tony?
I love it because it has the word "for" in it. Look at, she looks like a duck.
Wisdom with Wheezy.
She's so wise. She is so wise.
Hey, people, my 7-year-old knows what's up. That is
so wise.
And her fox looks like a duck. I mean, that's just
obviously.
Oh, like, yeah. There's a lot of pride when I hear her talk. Oh my God.
Is that what you look like without a beard? I feel like it is.
Yes. I feel bad for her. Yes.
She's very cute. You're very cute. So I think you have some good genes.
Yeah, it is profound, Joe. You're right. It is profound. It has the word "for" in it. Case closed.
Over and done.
So let's get into it, man. Let's talk about our we decided months ago when we planned this. We were talking about the fact we wanted to kind of talk about aging, the process, the actual scientific end of it, and then the culture around aging, the myths, the truths, and what's subjective and what is not. So like, you know, Tony has a background in wine, so we were going to talk about that. Just so you know, we decided to like go all the way with it tonight. So I am smoking an old Diamond Crown Maximus, but it is from the charitable foundation when they do the Toast Across America, and this one is from 2003. And we're doing this kind of as an experiment together while we talk about stuff, and we both have some beverages that are both very aged, and we're just going to talk about this stuff. So like, you know, Tony will.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you think about the cigar so far? I mean, you started smoking at the beginning, and you were kind of apprehensive, you know, about Cameroon wrapper, and you're kind of apprehensive about it.
So what's interesting is Cameroon is my favorite wrapper, hands down.
Me too.
The thing is aged Cameroon, like really aged, because this is 2003, right? So now this cigar is umpteenth years old. It's extremely dry. It's pulling every ounce of moisture out of my mouth, and I'm getting cotton mouth from it. The flavor is nice, but it is not that like sweet, earthy, like kind of what you normally get. Like it surprises me. If you were to say, do you want to smoke this? I'll nutshell it, or one off the shelf. I would pick the one off the shelf.
So all the sweetness and the beautiful nature of Cameroon's gone.
Yeah, and it's very, very dry, almost hay-like. And like, you know, we're not doing this show to say don't age stuff. We'll get into it as we talk about different things. But there is a point of diminish and return with anything. And that's kind of what we're going to kind of focus on tonight, is kind of the myths of like white whales of cigars. This is 10 years old. This is 20 years old, whatever it might be. You know, it's not always what it seems. And is this a nice cigar? Yes. But if I had gone and purchased this right now and this is what it tastes like, I would probably be disappointed. It's very just bland honestly.
But isn't that's I guess the whole point of what we're talking about is what happens and why certain different things age the way that they do. So that specific cigar may just be made to smoke right away.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea what this is going to taste like, and I have no fucking idea why I saved it. But I have a 2000 Dunwood Cabernet that has been in my wine cellar since the year 2000. I have no idea where I got it, but I know that I've kept it right. In addition to that, I must say that it has a fake cork.
Yeah.
So to get nerdy, go ahead, Jeremy.
No, and I was just gonna say what I have. Like I have a lot of other stuff that is older because we wanted to do this experiment together. But the fact is I didn't want to open something that's a 22-ounce bottle, so I was trying to find 12-ounce. But I have an old Bourbon County Stout from 2013, but it's the coffee stout edition. And so I wanted to see what it tastes like. Is the coffee still there? And like, so we're both experimenting with oldies today. So mine has, so what is it? 7, 8 years on it. And yours, we have no idea.
Mine is old enough to drink itself.
Yeah.
So we did talk cork last week. We talked about plastic cork versus real cork versus glass cork because the Savage and Cook, which we talked about, which you could win a bottle if you share the show, does have a glass cap on it, which I think is very cool. But we were talking about corks last week. We were talking about what a cork actually does in a wine. And what a cork actually does in a wine is it fills the gaps in the imperfections of the glass because the cork expands and contracts. So on a plastic cork, now look at that goo in there. Can you see all the, like, how it has like that level of tannin? The plastic cork lets a little bit of air in. So I'm gonna pour this and see what it looks like. Talk about your Bourbon County when I look at the wine here for a second.
So as Joe said, Bourbon County is awesome. It's from Goose Island. It's been, they have since over the past couple of years upped their production. They sold the company, I believe, have different distribution. All this has happened and it's become more readily available. But this is like, I was a huge beer collector for many, many years. And the problem is I had all these giant beers and no ability to drink them by myself. So that's why I have stuff that's 15 years old, 10 to 15 years old in my cabinet. So I wanted to see, because I thought this one would be interesting, because this is the edition that they used Intelligentsia coffee. So we know Intelligentsia, right, like does more light to medium roasts, right? Like they're that type of coffee. So it'll be interesting to see.
Coffee.
Yeah, coffee. But it'll be interesting to see how it developed. Is there more coffee? Did it diminish? And it smells crazy fucking boozy.
What was the alcohol in 2013?
13.4. But
so
it's
an already decently boozy beer at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 13% beer. While Jeremy's talking about that, I'm going to go in with this wine. Now, this is 21 years old. This is 15. Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Why are you laughing?
Because I drank some.
Talk about it.
I think it tastes like shit.
Oh,
dude,
that's so good.
It's so boozy, dude. Like there's no. It tastes like maple syrup that's burnt.
Do you think like giving it a couple minutes and letting like the booze kind of evaporate a little bit will do something for it?
Let's let that calm and sit while you go. And like, look, people, I'm not saying you shouldn't age your stuff either. We're just talking about and we're experimenting live with you guys. And this is just my opinion. That's all it is, but I feel like there's this kind of expectation that if something is older, it should be better. And I think you touched on it earlier when we were talking about the Cameroon. That's not always true because it's personal preference anyways, right? Like it like and I'm sure there is scientific reasons behind, like what happens when something oxidizes, what happens when it has the live yeast and how it changes over time. And I think you can get into that aspect of it more so from the technical side, not scientific, but the technical side, where I can kind of just comment on my pairings and what's going on. And like, I feel like sometimes people think they have to love it because they've sat on it for so long that it has to be some amazing thing.
And that's what we were talking about earlier. It's like, it doesn't mean, like, just because you age something doesn't mean it ends up better, right? So there's a lot of things and that age wonderfully, but people think, oh, I have a bottle of Chateau Lafite Rochelle from 1971. It doesn't mean it's good. It just means it's fucking old.
Yeah.
And to get into the technical aspect of things, like initially, you think about what happens when you bite an apple. When you bite an apple and you leave it on your counter, eventually because of the oxygen, it becomes brown, right? So the same goes for wine. And we were talking about corks last week again, where that airflow kind of comes in and kind of turns the wine a little brownish color, and you could see that in the wine. Now, I have the wine I'm drinking now, super weird, because generally after this much time, a wine with an artificial cork is bad. But this one doesn't smell bad. It has like a raisiny, kind of almost porty kind of smell, but it is not turned. It's not turned. And it's when a wine is turned, it smells like either wet cork or basement. This one kind of just smells, a little old. The alcohol mostly is gone because it's evaporated through the holes of the cork. But this wine somehow, and I know a lot of people listening can't see, but I can explain it to you. There's not a lot of brownness to it. It's still pretty cherry red, but to taste it, it's old. It's got a lot of raisin. It's got a lot of like brown sugar and those kind of things. And we're going to do like a wine thing later on, but I am really surprised with this. This wine was $14 in the year 2000, and I aged it. I aged it so long the label fell off. This isn't, right. But dude, like this, I am very surprised, and I'm very surprised as to how well it's held up. Would I say it's a good wine?
Yeah.
No, but it's not bad. It's not over the limit. It's not turned.
And what's interesting is, like, I wish I had a current, Bourbon County, right, to kind of taste and compare, because I think like that's the only real fair way is to A and B it. So I'm going off the memory of what I know Bourbon County tastes like, and it's a phenomenal beer. But the thing is it's always been a thick, syrupy, heavy, but there's no coffee left in this. And like, so when you think about, I'm drinking something, the intent was to have coffee. Now it is aged, but there is no coffee. So is it better or worse? Because it's now lost the intent of what it was trying to deliver when they bottled it. That's kind of my point behind this, is like this. I wasn't expecting, I was expecting it to be syrupy, but that roasted is like, it just tastes, plume, like right?
Sauce? Is it soy saucy?
It has that umami character to it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a fan of that. And like some people, dude, here's the best part. Like Joe was saying, like, when he was talking about like normally Bourbon County is like surprised. So am I. But it's also my preference and what I'm looking for out of a beer and what I want, or what I want out of the cigar. This cigar was not intentionally aged this long. What happened is I have an old humidor that has a bunch of singles of old stuff that I haven't touched in obviously a long time. And I would have smoked this years ago had I realized it was there, because Diamond Crown Maximus is a fantastic cigar. This is not a not fantastic cigar. It's just over the hill. It's like when you get old and your bones don't work as well anymore. You're not as like juviant and like, wait, is juviant a word?
I don't know, probably not, but I get it. So you can make up whatever words you want, and I understand it.
Yeah, that I do that all the time.
Yeah, Brandon's a poet. He's saying no, it's not a word.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Well,
I think
hey, if you're a poet, then any word is a real word.
That's too vulgar for us to repeat, Will Marxist.
Okay, yeah. So moving on.
Moving right on. So
I'm going to try it again.
Technically speaking, and I can speak for wine and beer and cigars, but I'll go with the alcohol aspect of things. You know, when you have and I'll get to Joe's question, that'll be the end of the wine conversation. So when you have a wine, what happens is, and Jeremy, you and I talked about this when I told you we would do the like wine class about having like the black tea and stuff like that. So a wine naturally has tannin. Tannin's the stuff that makes your teeth feel fucking furry when you drink a wine. It like gets up into your gums. That's tannin. That's from the skins and the seeds of the grape when you make the wine. Now, as it ages, what happens is the tannins, the molecule compounds of the tannins start to come back together, and they start to form chains, and then they start to fall out of the wine. So if I actually drank this whole bottle, and I'm sure if I could tilt it enough, you guys could see that there's a significant amount of sediment in the bottle. And the reason for that is those chains of tannin have rebonded, and they're now falling out of the wine. So what you're left with is the alcohol and the fruit, right? So the alcohol is being evaporated, and the tannins are forming these bonds and falling out of the wine. So generally speaking, like old wine has very little flavor. It doesn't have a lot of flavor. It doesn't matter if it's a Chateau Petrus or Lafite or any first growth or Right Bank Bordeaux. It doesn't matter what it is. Those tannins come together and they fall out of the wine, and the alcohol evaporates and the wine oxidizes, which sounds like a bad combo. But if you're into that, it's good. And I think that's the point of the conversation, is that if you're into those flavors, then maybe you should age the wine, right, Jeremy, or the beer,
right,
or the cigar. But if you're not, then you shouldn't. It doesn't necessarily make it better. It
right.
makes it different.
And
Tony and Jeremy, stop messing around. It's time for you both to take a shot.
Is that Oscar award-winning Eric Roberts? I think it was.
Let's do it.
Eric Roberts says we have to do it. We got to do it. Cheers.
Shot time.
Shot number 5.
Tony, what I wanted to say is I remember so for those of you, a little history lesson, the day that Caldwell announced we were coming to market was 2 months prior to us actually coming to market. But that same day was an event where the launch of Lost and Found, or Impromptu as it was when it first launched. And I remember Rob talking about aged cigars, and he kept describing the tobacco as being musty and like musty cheese. That sounds disgusting to me when you use that word. However, it's a very true statement. And like thinking about that in context to this cigar, there is absolutely a musty kind of cheese thing going on, and it makes complete sense, that like what he was talking about. And it is preference, just like you said. Like, it's reiterating, like that was the point, is to bring something old back to the market so you could try something and see what it tastes like. Even though it's not disclosed what the cigar is, you can taste something ultra premium aged without you having to throw it in your humidor and forgetting about it. And there is absolutely something to be said for that, because this cigar is absolutely that. Like Shaken in Cigar Aficionado would probably be raving about this cigar. Whereas for me, I'm not as much of a fan, in that way.
Right. So Caitlin's trying it right now, actually. The wine.
Hey, I like your new haircut, Caitlin, by the way.
Jeremy likes your new haircut.
Tastes like grape juice with pepper, like table pepper in it.
She says it tastes like grape juice
Watered
with
down grape
table
juice.
pepper. Do you taste raisin at all?
Oh, it tastes like shit. It stinks.
You guys heard that? Tastes like shit.
See, that is a perfect illustration of like what.
I was drinking out the bottle.
Well, no, it's fine. I just want to know if it's different.
The reality is right. Like there's this assumption that there's an assumption that.
Go ahead.
Caitlin, well, no, I'm talking over Caitlin, and I feel bad.
Well, she can't hear you, so you can say
I
whatever
know.
you want.
I know.
Excuse me.
He said he feels bad. He's talking you over you. Jeremy.
That's nothing fucking new.
Oh,
Oh.
we're on a show, right?
She heard wine, so she came on.
No, but there's this assumption, right, that I've met many times in every single event I've done for Down and Back, for Caldwell, and for the companies I worked with prior.
I'm gonna go back to my raspberry twisted tea bush light.
You're gonna have to mute yourself, Tony, because your conversation is distracting us.
You're good. Sorry.
So the thing I was going to say is that there's this assumption, and we've met it in every single store we've been in, that if you buy something, you need to age it. And I think some things, this is kind of the whole point, is that some of it can use some age. There's a lot of stuff coming out of Nicaragua that's premature and unaged, right? Tobacco where it hasn't fully fermented. And so it's going to actually pay off to rest it. But
well, that's another funny, sorry to interrupt, but it's another funny observation that, cigars that we make versus cigars that other people make. And I'm not saying I'm saying the universal we, I guess. I'm just saying, like, if you take, what's the difference between taking aged tobacco and making cigars versus taking new tobacco and then aging the cigars?
Right.
And I think that's a very important question that we could touch on. We don't have that much time left, but I want you to keep talking. But I think that's a good thing to think about for everybody. Is there's a big difference between the two.
Huge. So, like, a lot of people don't know that, like, once you roll the tobacco, whether it's 3 months, a year, 7 years old, when you roll the tobaccos together, they're going to start marrying, right? The tobaccos, that's the process where, like, the tobaccos are going to start melding together. It's like it's coming, you have all these different colors and it's starting to become a complete picture. Whether it's old or new tobacco, that happens. What is far too often happens in our industry is young tobacco gets rolled together. It comes out, you smoke it off the shelf, and 6 months later, the cigar tastes different on the shelf because it's had time to mature and sit there. And especially stuff coming out of Nicaragua, like, is by far in large under fermented that's coming out to the market. So It gives a false sense of strength, makes you feel like it's a stronger cigar. And then you come back to it 3 months later and it feels a little mellower. And there are certain things happening to that tobacco. What is interesting with the angle of what like Down and Back did was, and it's not to say one is better than the other, just a different, is that we used really old tobaccos and did it. And then that process is still going to happen. They're going to marry, but the change is going to be less significant from point A to point B over 6 months because that tobacco is fully already where it's going to sit and where it's going to for a period of time. Like, it'll change drastically any cigar from the time you roll it to like say 6 months. Then after 6 months to a year and a half, 2 years, it's going to be pretty much the same cigar minus minor nuances. But like, I remember a friend giving me a gift of a Padron Millennium. Padron for many years was my favorite cigar. In 2000, they came out with the Millennium. This was probably 2013, 14. Someone gifted me a Padron Millennium, which they reintroduced to the market, I think, in 18.
Was that those big 100 count boxes? Was that the Padron Millennium? Okay.
But originally it was a one-time release in Hi Maisha. It was just
Hi,
box.
Maisha.
And you could get refills. So I smoked this Padron Millennium from 2000 in 2014. When I smoked it, everything I love about Padron was gone. But to someone else, because now it was just very smooth, creamy, but that had no dynamics. What I love about Padron is that upfront kind of cocoa, pepper, spice, and all the things that I love about Padron was absent. But for other people, they may want that musty, like very creamy. It is a much more cohesive taste. But what I love about tobacco is the dynamic differences, right? So it all comes down to preference, but it's not just preference. There are changes that are going to happen to whether it be a wine, a beer. Is this better than it was in 2013? To some, it probably is. To me, it's not.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. And I think that you should be comfortable with your own palate and not necessarily let others influence you on what's better or what's worse. It doesn't matter. Like when you have an item like a wine or a whiskey or a craft beer or a cigar, like the producers of those things are making them to the best of their ability. I still have to answer Joe's question, and I will, but he's Silent Ivy, so we'll answer that in the after show if he can join. If not, I'll email him. But in all the aspects of things, what?
No, I was looking at Will. Remark. Bible meeting.
Yes.
Simmer down, hot stuff.
Ultimately, it's about what you like. And if you like it now, smoke it, drink it, eat it now. Darn it, being it, not bad at it. But if you like it, do it now. And if you want to see what it's going to be like later on, do that now too. But don't necessarily think that it's going to be some magical thing in 20 years from now. Because it's gonna be pretty much the same but different as far as the flavor profiles are concerned. And it might lose something. It might be something that you like really much, but it may not be.
Hey, Tony, I think it would be rad if I don't want to fully close out the show, but I want to tell a quick little story that I may have said on here before, but I think it perfectly encompasses what we're talking about. I am not a wine enthusiast. I enjoy wine, but I'm not very knowledgeable about wine. I had a friend. His uncle had passed away. This was back in like 99, 2000. And his uncle had passed away. He inherited his entire wine collection. And every year for that decade prior, we had done New Year's Eve at this guy's house. But his uncle had passed like 2 months before. So when he inherited this wine collection, so we went to this New Year's party and he cracked open a bottle of Petrus. Was it 88 or 90? The one that got the highest rating in Wine Spectator and Aficionado, right? The 99 points. And he poured us this wine and I just got drunk on it and it meant nothing to me. But what a perfect example of the fact that like this wine collector had purchased something that he was waiting for the perfect moment to enjoy, and he never enjoyed it. And then his nephew, right, opened it up in remembrance of his past grandfather because he was like, we're drinking the best shit tonight and we're getting drunk off of it. And that's what we did. Now, that's heresy to anyone who's a wine appreciator that I was guzzling Petrus. But the reality
is it question mark?
Right. But the thing is how many years later, and I still talk about that story, it obviously had an impact on me.
Right.
And that experience that we had of fuck it, we're drinking the best tonight and we're just going to get tore up over this stuff is a special memory to me. So was it a waste that like I wasn't the qualified palate to enjoy that wine? Or is it who fucking cares? Because the experience we had together was amazing. And that's like where I think it ultimately, when you break it down, that's what matters. The bummer thing is his uncle didn't get to enjoy what he had been sitting on.
Right. But I think that his uncle may be happier knowing that somebody else got to have a good time with that later on. So to sum up everything, like aging something, does it make it better or worse? We're kind of on the fence, right? We don't know.
Right. It's subjective.
Exactly. But aging something for the purpose of having an experience later on down the road, because you started that process at the beginning, does that make it worth it? I think absolutely. And to close out the show, Joe Sharmer asked a question. I got to find it, the exact question. Okay. So it depends on the port. And one of the best gifts to buy somebody that has a new baby is a bottle of vintage port. And the reason for that is vintage port is very special in that, generally speaking, port uses a Solera system, right? So a giant triangle, and you might have port from the 50s in the top and from 2020 in the bottom. So generally speaking, you're getting a mixture of all of that port. And they do that to achieve consistency, but they more importantly do that to achieve, I guess the same, I'm answering my own question, but to achieve the same wine over and over and over again. So a Taylor Fladgate port, or Taylor Fladgate Ruby is going to taste the same every time you buy it. But when the Portuguese declare a vintage port, that's something that's very special because all of that wine goes into the bottle from that year. And that has to be a very, very special wine. So if you buy a vintage port, between 21 and 27 years is when that port's going to really come into their own, because that port has a lot of tannins left over. And I'm going to get really nerdy before we end. But a port is a fortified wine, meaning the process of making it isn't complete when they finish it. So they add brandy to stop the fermentation, to stop the maceration. So your tannin level is very high. So when you have a vintage port, you have these wonderful grapes that are ready, and you add brandy to that wine and you vintageify it, then that means that wine is going to age for a very long time. And that's what vintage ruby port does. Tawny port is a little bit different, and we can get into that later. But ports do age, and they do age because they're generally higher alcohol content, so the alcohol could dissipate a little bit longer. Right. But I can get more into that in the after show.
And I'll say, Joe, yes, there are cigars that I've thought and have gotten better. And I also will talk about that in the after show because, like, one, it's subjective, but two, it depends on what you want out of a cigar. You know what I mean? Like, it completely depends. Like, if you go to see a comedy movie and it ends up being you were duped and it's a drama, are you happy with the movie? No. Does that make it a bad movie? No, you just weren't in the right place for that thing at that moment. And that's like everything about aging is like, you know, beer is a relatively new thing to the aging process within the past 15 years. So I was aging stuff before it necessarily was a big thing. And a lot of my stuff went bad because it wasn't stuff that should be aged. And I didn't know that, you know, and, but like I was under this impression, well, if I age it, it's going to get better. And the whole point of our show tonight is to just, one, it's preference. What do you want out of the thing you're smoking or drinking? And two, enjoy it with friends and be in the moment. Like there ain't nothing worth holding on to because all we have is the moment. And I know it sounds stupid and cliche, but I mean that. Like you only,
right. Yeah,
you
right.
only have right now fucking guaranteed to you. So like enjoy it with people you love, because like my buddy Steve opening that bottle of Petrus and other stuff, it was a waste on us, but it was a memory that I forever tell. So was it really a waste?
It wasn't.
I don't think so.
It wasn't. No.
We drank like kings, even though I couldn't appreciate it.
But you did.
Right.
So where does that leave us? Right? You appreciated it because of all the things, and I think that's the key takeaway, right? Is that nothing really fucking matters if you don't enjoy it.
Right. You know what? May I close with a little story? I was at a cigar shop doing this Reddit event, and all these guys like were there. It was about 20 guys, and they were all. And I went around the room, and I kind of dropped into their event and became part of it. And I said, "What's your white whale of a cigar?" And I wanted to hear each person's. And there was a guy that said a cigar, and I realized, shit, I have that cigar, and I have it in this store because it was at the store that I used to be a retailer at, and I still owned a locker. So I went to my locker, and I pulled out this cigar, and I came back in, and I handed it to him, and I said, here's the deal. You got to smoke it right now with me. And he was like, dude, I can't smoke this cigar. And I'm like, then I'm not giving it to you. I'm like, because whatever you think in your head this cigar is going to give you means nothing unless you experience it in company. And he smoked the cigar and was like, he was so afraid to light it because it was like something he wanted to show off. I got this cigar. No one else fucking has it. And I was telling him like, dude, I want you to experience what you have, because in your mind, what this cigar is way less good than that. I promise. There's a reason why it wasn't smoked. And that's why I won't name the cigar. But the point is like, it meant something to him. So I was like, you want to have that memory? Let's do it right now. And it was so cool to see him smoke it. And it kind of diminished his like idol, like his like, this is the forbidden. It's just a cigar, people. And that's all. Like, we make the best product we can make, but it's just a fucking cigar. You know what I mean? Like, it's the experiences we have with each other over the cigar that matter, not the actual cigar, not the wine, not the whiskey, not the beer. None of it actually matters unless there's a connection with another person that you can enjoy that with. And so, like, I wanted to share it because, like, just enjoy it. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Just enjoy it with someone, you know? And like, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's a great way to end the show. And I have to do our shameless stuff here after that epic speech. Guys, please share the show. And, you know, we can't do it without you guys watching and listening. We're giving away some really cool bourbon from Savage and Cook. If you guys don't know what it is, please look it up. And
it's badass.
It is badass. And as you share, you're going to get twice as many votes if you're a Patreon member. Please check out our Patreon page. We have a bunch of cool shit that's going on. I just sent out massive amounts of stuff for Silent Ivy Social. We can talk about opening up some new memberships because we're full. If you guys are interested, please let me know, and I can talk to the people at the club. But ultimately, $5 a month gets you awesome stuff every month. We're going to be doing a lot of cool stuff here in the future. We're not going anywhere, but either way, we appreciate your support. And with that, our Patreon members will be able to join the after show. Brandon, take it away.
All right. Great show, guys. Last thing I want to say is that if you find a worst of the week, I wanted to open that up. If you've come across a story and you think it would be funny for Tony and Jeremy to react to it on the show, you can send us that news article to 4shotsshow@gmail.com, and I will consider using it for the worst of the week. Let's try to keep the child abuse stories to a minimum. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I mean, it's worst of the week. That was really fucking bad, man.
It was bad. I just was making a joke.
I mean, it was funny because the dad with the whiskers, but the child abuse thing's bad.
Yeah, very, very bad. That's an automatic win just by default in its own way. But yeah, you can send that 4shotsshow@gmail.com. Please, if you can't listen to us live, you can always catch us on the rebroadcasted audio streams on Spotify or on iTunes, Google Play Store, or you can watch the videos at your leisure on YouTube or here on the Facebook page. We also have an Instagram account, which mostly just posts our updates, but we are going to be trying to do a lot of like recaps and stuff like that.
It's a lot of shit for It's a lot of shit for We should make Zach in charge of that. We should make him do that.
Yeah. Oh man, that sounds rough. I wouldn't. There, Zach. They want to put.
Zach.
Hey.
Here I am.
Listening. He was listening to that while we were talking. Tomorrow, everybody
It's
in the
kind of like
Patreon,
Brandon, where I find out every week what I'm supposed to do.
right? Like I started having last week during the show. Realized that I had to start tracking the shares for the whiskey giveaway.
Yes.
Tomorrow, the Cooking with Tony video will drop. I worked on it.
Throw that trailer up there.
I don't think I have the trailer anymore.
Okay.
You know what I have a trailer for? I have to pee so bad.
All right.
Do it.
Well,
let's do it. Let's do a shot before you have to pee because I like seeing.
Well, I'm gonna come back. Okay, dude. Let's do this. Hurry.
All right.
I'd like to see the sway.
One more bumper.
Shot number 6.
All right.
Cheers to Jeremy.
All right, guys. We will catch you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. We will be back here. 8 p.m. Eastern. What is that on your side of the world, Jeremy? 5 p.m. Pacific.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Hey, check my cool shirt out.
That is cool.